Hi, greetings. It's me, Dr. Paul Gerhardt, and I am here to talk to you about situational leadership model. Have you ever wondered why some leaders are just seen as more effective than others? Or have you had employees that just don't seem to be producing as effectively and efficiently as you like? Well, I'm here to tell you, as I often do, that it's probably your fault in some way. And that's what situational leadership model really tries to help us understand and gives us a tool to be able to apply the right style of leadership at the right time. Yep. I'm kind of in your face about the fact that when people are not doing what needs to be done in the most efficient and effective way, I point that right back to whoever their leader is. If you are a manager and you are not getting the results you want out of people, it's probably your fault. The good news is I love this model by Hershey and Blanchard that's accepted by so many organizations as the one leadership model that can help their leaders be more effective in getting the results that people want. So let's talk about situational leadership approach. It really is very popular among consultants. The situational leadership approach really takes a look at leadership styles and developmental leaders. And so in the late 60s and early 70s, Hershey and Blanchard really recognized that when leaders adapted their style of leadership to differing situations, that people got better results. And what we know after several decades of using this approach, that generally speaking, training and development is a lot more effective when leaders are trained to recognize where their leaders are or where their people are and are able to adapt their leadership approach with the right emphasis. So, really looking at being directive and being employee focused with the right kind of supportive behavior at the right time. And this theory actually goes on to suggest that giving the wrong leadership style at the wrong time will actually get you negative results. So it really is up to a leader to be directive at the right time and be supportive and focus on relationships at the right time. And so there are 4 different leadership styles, related to being directive and supportive that you can look at. And we're going to talk about those. So when you have an employee that is low competent and low commitment, leaders need to be more of a director or an S1. That's low directive and low supportive behavior. That means really recognizing that you've got to be able to give the right type of direction. People are going to be motivated when they're brand new. And so you don't have to be so supportive and say, hey, good job, you're awesome, so much as you really need to take the time to do hands-on directing. After you have an employee working for you for a little bit longer, those employees become a little more competent, but it starts to feel like work. And so because it feels like now it's a job, it's up to the leader to be more of a coach, be highly directive and highly supportive. So you're still needing to make sure that you are building the commitment of employees. So give employees what they need at the right time. After you've had an employee that really is becoming better at what they are doing, then the leader can be less directive and more supportive, reminding the employee of future opportunities for growth and how what he or she does really makes a positive difference in the organization. And finally, when an employee becomes excellent at what they do at a particular task, they become more developed, they are high competence and highly committed because they feel like what they do and they know what they do makes a commitment, then it really is up to the leader to recognize this is the right time to be delegating. But it has to do with giving the employee the right kind of leadership support at the right times. Because say, for instance, you have a seasoned employee that is the best at what they do, and you go in and you approach that employee and you start being directive with that employee. Hey, I see what you're doing here, but why don't you do this my way? What finger is that employee going to give you? He's probably going to be not as happy with you as a leader because you're taking away, you're diminishing the trust when you're telling him or her how to do his job when he's already proven himself to be effective. So you should be backing off, and you recognize that if he's mad at you for being too directive when he just needed you to recognize that he was awesome at what he does. So, but if a new software program becomes a part of that employee's job, that person goes back to being a D1. You have to make sure that you're helping direct that employee's attention to get the work done, and you have to be less supportive because they probably want to learn new things. So giving the right leadership style at the right time. So directive behaviors really are more of a one-way approach to communication. Giving directions, establishing goals, telling the employee how to achieve those goals, and then helping that employee understand the different ways that they're being evaluated and what the timelines look like. Really defining the roles that person is in, and that's directive behaviors. Supportive behaviors are really about assisting and giving two-way communication, really listening to the needs of the employee, asking for input, helping problem solving, praising and listening. That's supportive behaviors. The S1 directing style, which is a part of the situational leadership model, is about leadership's focusing communication on goal achievement. In the directing style, the leader spends less time using supportive behaviors. They're really doing what a director does. They direct. Once an employee becomes more seasoned, they're a D2 employee, they're starting to become more familiar with the tasks, but they're not fully competent. But it starts to feel like work as usual, and possibly that employee can become frustrated. So the leader focuses in the coaching style on both goal achievement and supporting the subordinates' social and emotional needs. And it really requires the leader to be involved by encouraging and soliciting input. We talk a lot about employee engagement these days, and so as a leader, you need to be engaging the employee the right way at the right time. And so if you are being a coach, you're asking questions and really listening to that employee to figure out what he or she needs. Then you give them the type of support that you need. But that two-way communication really must be a focus. In order to be an effective coach, you cannot assume. You really must recognize what that employee needs. Well, you've had an employee who's doing what he or she does, and they've been with the organization perhaps a couple years, and the literature suggests that in most jobs it takes about 2 years to be as good as the people that they're replacing. So what a leader needs to recognize is that employee probably has developed substantial expertise at doing what he or she does. So the leader needs to be less directive, but it may be an opportunity to build relationships and support people. So a D3 employee, which has moderate high competence and variable commitment, it's a job, it's work, it feels like maybe what they don't do makes a difference. It's your job to support that employee and help him or her understand that what he does really does make a positive difference, and there are opportunities for growth in the organization. It's kind of human nature to want to continue to grow with an organization and to learn new things. So in the S3 supporting style of situational leadership, the leader does not focus solely on the goals. She uses supportive behaviors to bring out employees' skills in accomplishing tasks. So really being creative and finding ways to support your D3 employee. And then leader really can start delegating day-to-day decision-making control. But you still, because the employee may be great at what they do, they probably still need some controls in place in order to minimize losses, but still gives enough power for the person to be able to do effective decision making. So you're still giving support in as a S3 leader in the situational leadership approach. That fourth dimension of this style of leadership, it's recognizing that employees, if given the right kind of support over time and nurturing, they will become experts. And so they're highly competent, and they probably have high commitment because they probably love what they do. And you as a leader need to recognize where they are and back off a little bit, give less task effort and social support, and then help, facilitate, their confidence and motivation. Lessen your own involvement as a leader in the planning and control of details and goal clarification. Let them do what they do best their way. You may have a way of that you think it should be done, but it would be inappropriate to take an expert employee and tell him or her how to do his job. That's abuse. So don't be surprised if an employee gets mad at you or pushes you a little bit if they're excellent at what they do. Give your employee control and refrain from interceding, and don't worry about giving unneeded social support. They know that they're good at what they do. And keep in mind that just because an employee is excellent at something they've been doing for many, many, many years, if their job changes, they go right back to being a D1 employee, which means you need to go back to being an S1 leader. Be a director with that employee and get them up to the coaching stage, for their new tasks. And once they get through the coaching stage, get them through the supporting stage. So it's a continual cycle of applying the right style of leadership at the right time by recognizing what the situation is with the employee. How long have they been doing the task? Support do they need? And it varies. So you can't treat every employee the same way every single time. And with situational leadership approach, it's a brilliant model for you to recognize that if you're listening and you're thinking and you're really evaluating where this employee is on an individual basis, you can give the right level of support to the person to help him or her become an expert. Because doesn't your job become easier as a leader when you have everybody that is doing what they need to do and share their unique contributions and style and ways of thinking because you've been an effective leader? So help people grow in your organization by giving them the right style of leadership, whether it be directing, coaching, supporting, or delegating. Don't give delegating work to someone who's brand new. You're not setting someone up for success. You've got to help people understand their job first very well, and you cannot assume that they know what they're doing until they've taken enough time to prove it to you over and over and over again. So you have to be wise as a leader. When your people are not effective, it's probably because you haven't set them up for success by using the right style of leadership at the right time. That's why I love situational leadership approach, because it gives you a model to recognize 4 essential levels of an employee as it relates to particular tasks that they are doing, and levels of expertise related to those tasks, which means you've got to give the right style of leadership at the right time. All right. I've kind of dumbed down the situational leadership model a little bit, but as far as all the leadership models are concerned, this is my favorite because it's one of those things that gives you a model to really be thinking about. You know, who is my employee? How should I be interacting with this employee to make sure that he or she is being successful at accomplishing our organizational goals? All right. Thanks again for your valuable time. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great day because only you get to choose how you feel about it. I'm Dr.